Good morning, all my chicken people. It's a beautiful day. Finally, I think spring has sprung here in Kansas on 5 Acre Farms. My name's Luke. Thanks for watching. You guys are awesome. I mean, you guys are making this YouTube thing fun. And we got a lot of stuff coming down the pipes. But yeah, let's go into the brooder building here real quick and check on everything before we get into the meat birds. Everything's going good here. Bunch of button quail, our Brahmas. We got our first geese and ducks. A lot of the salmon faverolles and Polish. A couple French black copper Morans. The I Am Nakeds, world's sexiest chicken. Bunch of Silkies and Suramas. And the old Indio Gantes. Things grow so fast. I mean, they kind of have to since they're a 3-foot tall bird. The incubators are loaded to the brim. So our next hatch date, let's see here. Today's the 10th. So we got to pull chickens out tomorrow. And then some ducks and geese go to lockdown tomorrow. Chickens for lockdown. Hope there's some more chickens over here. We got another big batch coming up this weekend. But yeah. Let's go check on the meat chickens, because that's why you're here. We're into week 1. Week 1 is over. We survived. But a lot has changed, and we got some things to go over. So let's go talk about some meat chickens. The meat chickens are growing like weeds. They've already started getting almost all their wing feathers. They've pretty much doubled in size. But yeah, they're getting big. Probably one more week in here. So if we got them last Friday, and today is Thursday, so if they were born or hatched on last Wednesday and shipped on Wednesday, today they would be approximately 8 days old. So, and they've almost doubled in size already. I feel like they double in size like every week, but they're eating a lot of food, chowing down. And I'm going to walk you through a few things that we've done in here over the week and give you an idea of why we did what we did. So let me grab you guys and turn you around here. So first things you're going to notice is we only have 2 heat lamps now. We started with 5 250 watt bulb heat lamps, and that worked perfect for the first couple days. And it's into the mid 70s these next several days. So we took out the other 3, and then we swapped out the heat lamps to 150 watt bulbs. So, and that seems to be working just fine. Nobody's crowded underneath them. I mean, it looks kind of crowded, but there's plenty of room. A lot of them are spread out doing their thing. So if they were cold, they'd be piling on top of each other to get underneath that heat. So we're still running the 1-gallon waters. That's going to change today. I'll walk you through the project here. I'm going to manifest. Their feeders, they're going through pretty much all 3 of these 7-pound feeders in 24 hours. So the first couple days I had these sitting all the way on the ground, and now you can see that they are elevated about 2 or 3 inches. I did that for this middle one's a little bit lower, just in case there were some smaller chicks. But as you can see over on that one, you want your feeders to be, you want your chickens to be standing up as high as they can to get to feed. This forces them to stand on their legs when they eat, and it forces them to use their leg muscles. If you let them sit down and eat, then they won't really gain as much leg muscles. So forcing them to stand up and reach as high as they can to get food, I found has kept me from having leg issues. So you'll see some of these guys down here, they're right at neck level is where I want the feeder to be. That way they can still get into it. When you start getting it too low, they jump up in there and then they start scratching it out and start wasting feed. Like that one right there in the middle. He's trying to get up there and kick food out. So, what are you gonna pick a fight with the camera? Huh? You gonna pick a fight? You wanna fight? That's what I thought. So this middle one, we're gonna raise up. This far one is about perfect. You can kind of see how they are trying to get up on their tippy toes to eat, which is what you want. So once we've got past the first couple days, if you're gonna lose meat chickens, you're gonna lose them usually in the first couple days, usually due to stress. And you gotta remember these chickens are highly modified to grow extremely fast and be ready to butcher at 6 to 8 weeks. So when you mess with genetics that much, you're gonna run into some that just have weak genetics or are inferior. So some of them just don't have the will to survive. So you gotta understand, you gotta expect that and understand you're gonna have that when you buy these Cornish crosses. With that being said, I still think that these are worth going with. When you have death losses with the Cornish cross, it's either going to be within the first 5 days or the first week you put them outside. For us, it's usually in the first 5 days. If we can make it past the first 5 days, we're usually golden. So I think out of 270 birds, we've lost 5. And like I said, that was within the first 2 days. We haven't lost any since. Now, they're going to get kind of crammed in this brooder because this is only a 60 square foot brooder, 10 foot by 6 foot. So the ratio you want to put your meat chickens is usually a half a square foot per bird. A half a square foot to 1 square foot. You can get away with half a square foot as long as you're not keeping them in here for probably over 2.5 weeks. But a half a square foot for me, I found has worked good. Now that puts, if I did a half a square foot per bird, I should only hold 120 chickens in here. And we have approximately 200. So we're over. Now, I'm running into a few issues because I'm over on square footage, and I'll show you why right now. When you start running into overcrowding, you're going to start running into pecking issues. As you can see, this guy on the feeder here is getting pecked on pretty heavily. I'm going to grab him real quick. But once they see... So once chickens draw blood, they're pretty vicious. And chickens are attracted to red. And so once a chicken starts showing blood or red, the rest of them will just bombard this little dude and eventually kill him. Turkeys are way worse than chickens, but chickens are just as bad. Now this is the first one I've had in 3 or 4 days. So I'll show you a couple others that they picked on and show you what I'm doing to help keep this from happening. I'm going to put him in here with the ducks and geese. You can see there's a couple others in here that have naked butts or a bum wing because they were picked on. This is common with Cornish crosses or any meat variety, really. Usually it's due to overcrowding or lack of protein in their feed. I don't think it's my feed that's an issue. I think it's overcrowding. So we're gonna have to keep that in mind next time we order meat chickens, if we're gonna do as many, or I'm gonna have to build a bigger brooder or more brooders. So if those guys if those pick on this guy, then we may have to move him in with the quail. But they're attracted to red, so we're going to keep an eye on this. If they're going to pick on this guy I just put in there, I may move him in with the quail. Well, let's just do that anyway. Come here. I know I just put you in here. Put you over here with the quail. You can see I have another Cornish in here. That's just a runt. He wasn't growing very fast with the rest of them, so he's in here with the quail. That way he doesn't get picked on. But the good thing is these Cornishes grow so fast that that red will be gone and the feathers will come back within a couple days. So really these guys will only be in here for another couple days. And once I move them outside, we'll have so much room and so much grass and bugs to chase that they really won't mess with each other. Pecking is almost always done in the brooder, not outside. So let's go back over to the garage. Like I said, pecking is usually an issue only in the brooder because we're putting a bunch of birds in a small space and they only got so much to do in here. Now that's one perk to using these fine wood chips. Usually at day like 6 is when they really start scratching and trying to dust, and that's why you want this deep bedding. That way they can bury and dig and keep themselves occupied. One thing I did yesterday was I went and got a pecking block. This is just a pecking block from your local farm store. Tractor Supply or Boomgars or Orschelns or Atwoods probably has a chicken pecking block. They're really made for outside or adult chickens, but it has corn mixed in there and sunflowers and molasses and all sorts of stuff. The protein's only like, I don't know, 15%, so it's not like it's not here to make them grow bigger. It's strictly here just to give them something to do. Another thing, chickens are attracted to red, so that's why all your feeder bases and your water bases are usually red. One thing I found out that helps is I just happen to have red zip ties, and I've put these things all over the brooder, sticking them through the boards or just laying them in the wood chips. And these chickens will just come by and start pecking at them. Sometimes if I get bored, I come out here and start giving them a little move to them, and the chickens go crazy for them. So that's one thing I've helped combat, try to keep them more entertained. This pecking block has really seemed to help. All these guys are coming over here and pecking at it. But deep litter or deep bedding gives them plenty of room to scratch around. Keeps them entertained by scratching and dusting. Always keeping their food bowls full. That way, if they get hungry, they have access to it. You don't want them to run out of feed, at least at this stage. Now, once they're outside, we let them run out of feed. But we'll get into that when we move on to the 3rd or 4th video. I suspend all my feeders. I just happen to screw a 2x4 down with lag bolts through a little chain and a little D-ring down here. So I can raise and lower these by one link of the chain. And just like that, I brought it up about an inch. And so that'll help keep them standing while they're eating. It also helps a little bit them jumping up into the feeders and scratching some out. These feeders are nice because they have the little bars down here, so they can't hardly scratch anything out. I know some people use a trough style feeder, which is fine, just know that they're going to waste feed. I've noticed that with these style feeders, they don't tend to waste near as much. But, yep, they're going to town. So all they do is eat, sleep, and poop. Kind of like a baby, except they don't cry. Now that we're on week 1, and I've been doing this for a couple days, but I take a hoe for a garden, and I'll go through here and turn up their bedding. Now that they're starting to fluff up a little bit, I've noticed that this really helps them get active. They'll get in there and start scratching on this stuff when you get the fluff bedding going. And it helps stir up their manure so you're not loading up the surface with manure. If you do this every day, I've noticed that you don't have to replace or add near as many wood chips. I have not added any new wood chips since we started, so we're still running on 5 bags of wood chips. I have one more bag just in case I need to. I might top it off at the end of this week. But I just go through with this hoe and stir up the wood chips a little bit. That gives them some new bedding to scratch and play in. And it helps take that manure load and mix it up and helps dry it out. Because their manure load will build up on top of the surface. And when that happens, that's when birds start getting sick. Watch out, guys. So, as you can tell already, they're already getting a lot more active because they got new stuff to scratch and peck in. But the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to replace 3 of these 1-gallon waters and add in their bell water. So let's pull these 3 waters out, and you can see I already got the board set up for the bell water. I'm taking your water, guys. Don't panic though. I'll bring you some new stuff. This will open up a little more bedding too, taking these out. And since they started scratching, they're starting to get wood chips in their water, which is to be expected. You're going to get wood chips in your water. But I refill these at least once a day with fresh, clean water. And then I take off their, I'm using a metal plate this time, but I usually scrape off what the waters were sitting on. Blocks of wood work too. Kind of helps keep the wood shavings away from the water. But now we got those all out. I'm going to go ahead and stir this up real quick. You're going to find your most of your manure load around your feeder and your water, because that's where a lot of them spend time. I need to get a rake or a hoe that has the teeth in it, not this flat one. But stirring this up, I found, makes a really big difference. Keeping this as dry as possible. You want to keep this bedding as dry as possible. Ain't that right, little chicken nuggets? I don't want you guys getting sick. They love to scratch around and move all over the place in this bedding. Gets them all sorts of fired up. Alright, now that that's done, get my zip ties back going. I like to peck on these zip ties, which is fine, as long as they're pecking on the zip ties and not on each other. It's kind of ironic when I said that I used the latches on all four corners because I didn't want to screw it together, and now I'm screwing all the stuff into the top. But I'm going to start here by adding this piece of 2x4, and it's going to hang the water from it suspended, and then this board over on the other side is going to hold the 5-gallon bucket. I'll show you guys here in a second, but I'm going to screw this board down. This water is heavy. I'll explain it here in a second. So I want to make sure that this does not go anywhere. I'll pull these screws out when I need to take this all apart. Any scrap board will do. I cut the corners off of everything. That way if I'm walking or somebody's walking around this brooder, they don't get it caught on their arm or something. So I'm going to hang a chain. This is just a small piece of chain that I can hook that D-ring in, and I'll be able to hang the bell water from it. We're going to kind of center it up here, hopefully. Without getting ka-chowed here with this chain. Alright. That's going to be plenty strong to hold this water. So this is a bell water, and I'll bring you up closer here. So when I say a bell water or Poisson water, this is what I'm talking about. You can find these at several places. Just Google Poisson water or bell water. But inside this, let me take this off real quick. I use these little D-rings for everything. But inside this is the gravity mechanism. This thing is full of water, so it's extremely heavy. And you want to make sure it's full of water because that's what keeps it pulled down and upright. First time I used this, I did not fill this with water because I really didn't read the instructions like normal men. And as soon as these guys ran out of water, they were bumping it so easy with their body that they couldn't get it to come out right. But inside this is empty, and it just hangs over that water jug. And up here there's a spring. You can see just a little bit of a movement to it. And once this rim fills up with water, it puts enough down pressure on it. And inside this top part is a little float system. So when it raises up, it allows water out through these little gray tabs, and the water trickles down into the area they drink out of. And when it fills up, it weighs it down and it stops letting water in. And then once they drink out of it, it lifts it back up and allows more water. So these are awesome. They're made to be outside. This is what a lot of the industry uses. They're not cheap, but this is year, I think, 4 with one of these. So I keep them inside over the winter so they don't freeze. I don't dump the water out like you probably should. So I think I got that hanging down there just right. It's not touching the wood chips, but the float's still going to work. All right, so let's get the 5-gallon bucket hooked up and hook up the hose. These Poisson waters come with the hose, but they don't come with the bucket. So just go get a standard bucket. It'll tell you what size hole to drill in your bucket for this hose. I'm going to wrap it around here to kind of keep it up out of the wood chips. As It's nice to have the long hose once we get out to the chicken tractors. But in here, it's not really necessary. Yep, one too many. So we're going to thread this hose in here into the bucket. I already have my hole drilled in the bucket. It tells you in the instructions what size hole to drill. Do not over drill the hole size because it will leak. If you do it just right, it won't leak. So I'll fit the hose in there. It's going to be nice and snug, just like that. So, other than that, time to add some water. This will save me a lot of time. You want to try to keep the algae out of your bucket because it will clog up the hose. I'm saying that as there's algae in the bucket. But it'll take a while for the gravity to get through the hose. You might have to help it get started. Oh, nope. Let me pull you off here and show you. It's already coming out there. So you can see the water trickling out. It's filling up down there. Chickens are already finding it. That didn't take long. But I'm going to keep an eye on it to make sure it does stop letting water out. Make sure I don't flood the brooder. Usually if it does not stop letting water out, then it's something inside here that's stuck. But it should slow down as the tray gets heavier and heavier. Alright, you can see it's just barely trickling now because the water level's full. So I think it's going to work just fine. And I try to get these guys trained to this Poisson water while they're in their brooder. Plus it's just a whole lot easier because all I have to do is now fill this bucket once a day, and I can get rid of the rest of these little 1 gallon waters. I'll probably fill that one over there one more time until we get them all figured out over here. But the sooner you can get them figuring this Poisson water out, the less work you have on your plate. I guess the water out of the spigot's better than out of the tray. So, these things are awesome. I think they're about 75 to 80 bucks, maybe a little more now. But once you get them out into the chicken tractor, they're worth their weight in gold. Because you can fill them from the outside of the chicken tractor and you never have to get in there and move waters around or nothing. So, highly suggest these. I think that's everything I need to talk about for week 1. Week 1's one of the easiest with meat chickens. So if you made it through week 1, good job. But just know, it slowly gets a little more chaotic and a little more stressful the older they get. Because you got more invested into them. So if you're going to lose one, it's a little more money out of your pocket. But right now, like I said, with 200 birds, we're about 70 pounds of feed deep. Obviously there was a little waste at the beginning when I was putting it on that feed sack, but now that we got all the feeders going, they're primarily eating out of the feeders. Waste is minimal from here on out. So, like I said, I think we're a little overcrowded in here. It's supposed to be 90 degrees this weekend, which is nice. If it stays up in the upper 80s and 90s by the end of next week, I think we might move these guys out on grass a little early. You got to be real careful when you put them out on grass. You got to make sure you don't have any cold snaps or rain is the biggest thing. You don't want these guys to get wet. You want them to have most of their feathers before you put them outside. I like to shoot for 2.5 to 3 weeks, but we're going to try to shoot for around that 2 to 2.5. But we'll see as we go. You'll know on next week's update video, but this is week 1 of how to raise meat chickens for beginners. And we got at least 7 more videos or 6 more videos on this. So stay followed along if this is something you're wanting to do. But these are a few things I'm doing. The heat lamps are down to 125 bulbs. We're switching over to the Poisson water. We're raising feeders. And we're doing everything we can to keep them entertained so they don't peck on each other, because I think I got them a little overcrowded. Right now they don't seem overcrowded too much, but here in another week they're going to be in pretty tight quarters as they get bigger, because they're going to almost double in size by week 2. So if you have any questions, comment them down below. I'm trying to answer every comment and keep you guys in the loop, and I'm encouraging you all that are following along, that are doing the same thing we're doing. We got other videos to do outside of meat chickens. If you haven't watched the first video, go to our channel and find it. It's Raising Meat Chickens for Beginner Arrival Day. But yeah, this is week 1. This is all I got. Thanks for watching here at 5 Acre Farms. I'm Luke. Don't haggle with your egg supplier, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. We love you.